Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome, everybody. I am your host, three-time NFL best ball champion, here to talk some football and rip a Best Ball Mania 5 in the quest for $1.5 million. Let's get it, gang. Good morning, Reed. We like to highlight the first commenter around here. So, I won't always be doing morning streams, mainly because that's my productive time to be writing for my new site, beatbestball.com. But I wanted to give you guys an example of a morning draft, and it's an edge we can seek. The other day, I woke up at, and that's why I tried to wait until this draft was full until I socialized it. Perfect. We pulled the 112. We're going to tell a couple stories here. One, the other day, I woke up at like 7:30 Eastern, which is kind of early for me. And, you know, what do you do at that time? Whatever. Actually, I woke up at 5. And around 7, I jumped in an underdog draft. And I caught like 3 people auto drafting. Now, auto drafting can be annoying when someone auto drafts a player you like, right? Or play a quarterback you need for your stack. However, I think in general, it's more EV, meaning we get more expected value when we're drafting with auto drafters when they're doing weird construction things. And if you're paying attention to this, you can abuse this. I should have an article on these minor edges we can seek. Again, on beatbestball.com. That is my website, $99. We'll cover you for the whole year for everything best ball and regular season football. Now, before we get to our draft, I guess we have to take a detour here into my Discord. The link to join this is below. Yesterday in the NBA channel, which, you know, we're mainly a football channel, but I like to help. Our guy Grant here asked, hey, can anyone explain to me how NBA dailies work, like strategy-wise? And I told him some game theory things. I said, hey, I don't really play basketball, but I'd make sure, you know, and for game theory sense, I'd make sure to prioritize getting unique at the top of the drafts by quote-unquote reaching, or at the bottom of drafts by grabbing players not drafted a ton. I said, if you're doing volume, also taking a stand on a player in a certain round could pay off if you're right. Well, and then around midnight, the dude goes and wins the contest and then says, I also think I did this draft after your advice. When I drafted, I thought I had too much Boston, but it was so unchalk. So shout out Grant. Happy to see people in my Discord winning. Make sure you join there yourself. All right, we're going to go Marvin Harrison Jr. I got my ranks in there. There's some football we need to talk to. And then let's take Nico. You know, a Marvin Gibbs, a Marvin London, a Marvin Ayuk even. All these are super chalky. So let's go Marvin, Nico. Trying to get unique and kind of referencing the article that I released with the CeeDee Lamb, my free article on beatbestball.com. Where, I mean, Nico used to go at the 1-2 turn before the Steph Diggs trade, and there's still the possibility that Steph Diggs is toast this year, right? Like, I think you should definitely draft some Steph Diggs. I draft Steph Diggs, but, I mean, the guy's old, right? Tank Dell got shot and injured and aligns with this ADP, so maybe we can build a Houston stack like this. So I like taking Nico here. The projection on a Nico versus an Ayuk is so minor that the combinations of Marvin Harrison Jr. and Nico, though, are going to be literally maybe 20 times less common than with Ayuk. So let's talk some football news. Rashee Rice. Oh, first off, Tyler Boyd is with the Titans, and I updated my ranks to reflect this before the signing even happened, in the sense that I put Treylon Burks to like pretty much undraftable. Like in this like KJ Osborne group of players. And I put Tyler Boyd as a draftable asset in this like DJ Chark, Tyler Boyd, and maybe he'll go a little bit higher now that he's actually signed. So he's probably going to play the slot for the Titans. And I think the chance that Treylon gets traded is pretty high, right? Like many people think that the best role for Treylon Burks in the NFL is big slot. Tyler Boyd has a relationship with the OC there, the coach. So I don't know. A trio of Boyd, Ridley, and Hopkins, like that can work. I don't know if I would trade Treylon if I'm the Titans. Like, why? Right? Like, Tyler Boyd is 30. You're probably only like, if you get a 6th round pick, are you trading him? I would not. I'm gonna be like, dude, come on, let's just try to put it together. This is your career here. If he gets traded, I mean, he could land with the good. Like, if he lands with the Chargers, let's go, right? Like, you got a chance there. You're competing with DJ Chark and gang. If he definitely not landing with Buffalo, that doesn't make much sense to me. They already have a bunch of slot guys. The Chiefs, maybe, with this Rashee Rice, and that brings us into our next conversation. Rice is a tough eval, as are many players in best ball, in the sense that, like, I had him below ADP, but I think I might even remove him from my ranks, in the sense that I think it's okay if you take some Rice now in case the fear is overblown. But the dude, I think, got cited for another felony for punching a photographer. I think he has 8 felonies. This is not good. I already said it was bad vibes, his driving case compared to others. Many teams removed him from their boards to even be drafted before the NFL draft because of character issues. Then he goes and wins the Super Bowl, and now he's maybe like, fuck it, I'm going to be an asshole. And he's kind of doing that. So I would not want a lot of Rice right now. I think if you have I have a little bit of Rice from earlier. I wasn't taking a lot on the big board. I wish I kind of just like stuck with that. And I mean, like, how expensive can he get? Well, we saw he'd be like a 2-3 turnish, but that was before Worthy. So even if he gets cleared in a draft cycle, like, he's probably not going higher than the 3rd round. And yeah, I don't know. Like, his discipline could come later. It could come now. It's all bad vibes for him. Okay. Okay, let's grab Tank. Let's see what the Diggs drafter did. So we could reach on QB, but I don't really feel like it. I do like ETN a lot. I also like Metcalf and Flowers. Flowers is nice because, like, Andrews could just, like, frankly not be healthy. Yeah, we'll go Flowers this time, and we'll see. I've experimented with some extreme builds, either going 3 running back to start, 6 wide receiver to start, and sometimes it works great. And other times you get in a weird draft where, like, the other day I did a 0 RB start, and by like round, I was at the 1 pick. By round 14, all the running backs ADPs was a full round below. So, like, people were just like randomly hoarding running backs that already had running backs. And that happens sometimes. I did another room where I started with 3 RBs, and I thought my wide receiver room turned out fantastic. So I think a lot of builds can work right now. Some of it depends on how your room behaves. Was McBride in play there? You could have built an Arizona stack. Absolutely. I think in a theoretical sense, a skinny stack is always going to have a little bit more of a ceiling in the sense that it's unlikely that Marvin and McBride smash in a given week. Of course, there's other benefits where they can ping pong and whatnot. And I like McBride. Frankly, I have exposure to a lot of the elite tight ends. As you noticed, I have all the tight ends ranked higher than their ADP. I just think like the market's kind of wrong on that. But that's going to be one of my next articles. Who do I think has a better chance of having like a great season between Jonathan Taylor and Saquon? Well, I'd say JT, and I'd say they get there in different ways. I mean, I think both are unlikely to have like a 20 point per game. Like, okay, how about Kyron, Saquon, or JT? The answer is obviously Kyron. As far as like who could average 20 half-point PPR points. Kyron literally did that last year, so Kyron could, yes. How does he do it? Blake Corum's not a big deal, right? And that's why rankings are hard. Is like, should you do ranks purely on ceiling? Of course not. Should you do ranks purely on fear? Of course not, right? So Kyron third round is only there because they drafted third round Blake Corum. Blake Corum could not see the field. Blake Corum could play 15% of the snaps, right? Saquon would need to sun run touchdowns in the sense that A.J. Brown could not get that many touchdowns, right? Devonta Smith couldn't, and Jalen Hurts couldn't, right? That's tough, and he's old. I have Saquon way below his ranking of like 1-2 turn. That's not logical to me. JT also needs to do a similar thing with Saquon where he's playing beside Richardson. Richardson can't take all the touchdowns. But he'd have to do it from like an explosive sense, which we know JT can. Blake Corum equal Tanks Bigsby? Yeah, like that is a possibility, right? Yeah, agree with Jeff here. People like to think about the starter getting hurt, but never about what happens if the 1B gets hurt. I still have Kyron ranked at the 1-2 turn. Clearly, you don't need to take him there. So, like, I guess I'll lower him a little in my ranks just to reflect market sentiment. But if you ask me, who would I want to like put my net worth on? Okay, so Stroud falls to us, which is fantastic. And that happens. That actually happens sometimes, right? We're at pick 60. I've seen him go here. Like room variability has a lot to do with this. So we're definitely taking Stroud. And then the question is, do we want to go one of the elite tight ends or do we want to go one of the running backs or even wide receiver? Brian Thomas is nice for a division opponent. I like Rachaad White quite a bit. I think we'll queue White and just see what the we're gonna go White only because I see a 5 wide receiver start, I see a 4 wide receiver start, I see another 4 wide receiver start. So I don't really want to get squeezed out, and I think Rachaad White, like a Rachaad White ceiling season, is not that different from honestly like a Gibbs ceiling season, or even a JT or Derrick Henry or Josh Jacobs, right? Like we know that he can score like these guys. I like Pitts too. And that's how I feel about those running backs, like the the James Cook and Rachaad White and Pacheco, those three guys, I think can score like almost any running back in the player pool, except for like CMC, maybe Bijan, maybe Kyren, maybe Brees, if things go their way. Obviously, like maybe Bucky Irving plays 50% of snaps. Maybe Ray Davis plays quite a bit in reference to James Cook. So I don't have a lot of Stroud, so I love to see this. We reached on Nico, and then we took Tank at ADP, and then we got Stroud to fall to us. So this is how you build unique teams that can win the contest in our Super Plus EV, right? Like we got 4 wide receivers we think are going to perform studly. We got a elite quarterback. We got a running back who we think can be a top 10 running back in scoring if things go his way. And we got it through ADPs that either people are not going to do a lot in Nico, or you need to get lucky to get in a falling one, which is even way better, right? And another falling one. Yeah, obviously there is risk with Kyren, right? Kyren is a riskier pick than Saquon in the sense that we're not thrilled with Saquon's running back touch competition, right? However, like I'm not going to fade a guy who can literally be the second best player in all of fantasy football, which Kyren was last year, because he might lose his job. Like I'm not going to do that. Do you need to take him every time? Of course not. You don't. But if you're the person fading him every time, that's a terrible process to me. Like on a Kyren Blake, sometimes I like to go 2/3, 1/3 in the sense that like I want 2/3 of the backup, 1/3 of the starter. On the Kyren Blake Corum, I would much rather go the opposite way. I'd rather have like 2/3 of Kyren, 1/3 Blake Corum. I think it's okay if you want to draft more Kyren later, if you kind of like wait for the summer, see how it goes. But I mean, Tank Bigsby got glowing reports in the preseason, and then we saw what he did. So QB ADP feels weird. Yeah, I'll have some articles on the quarterback for sure. Yeah, Tyler, you can rewind, but basically, yes. Let's go. So Rashee Rice went pick 80. And I think that's like fair-ish. Like after all the guys we kind of feel good about, like the Hopkins, the Johnsons, the Brian Thomases. Unfortunate that this guy just takes Kyler unstacked, because I would have taken Kyler. Maybe that was an auto draft. Okay, let's go Brock. Where did Coleman go? Am I blind? And I'm going to go Jake Ferguson as well. So I'm double tapping tight end there to be done. I mean, Jake Ferguson should just be the second. I think I'm going to move him a little bit up my ranks, more into this Ingram Bowers tier, because he's just the second target for Dallas right now. And not impossible. we get a Dak wraparound. Pretty unlikely, but not impossible. Kind of like how these two tight ends play together too. Where did Keon Coleman go? I'll pick 68. Yeah. Okay. Where Brock is going to be this like yard after catch guy, manufactured touches, screens, whatnot. And Ferguson is just your standard, like he's not that different than Ingram, except debatably has less target competition. I don't think most of the best ball community is out on this. I'm certainly not. But yeah, I definitely think Kyron and Blake is like a smash combo. Right? I think the difference is Kyron was a bad prospect and many Dallas talent still. I would push back on that. Kyron tested bad. What I remember about Kyron and Notre Dame, and I don't watch a lot of college football, but for some reason I did know this, is that he effing balled out at Notre Dame. And I remember people saying like, oh, this guy is going to test poorly, but he like crushed in college. So is that a bad prospect just because you test bad? No, plenty of running backs don't test the best. Puppy drops today. Man, I guess I could have done a puppy stream. Yeah, I'm doing a Best Ball Mania 5. Many won't. By the way, in the previous years, we would have had the NFL schedule tomorrow. I think it got announced that we are getting the NFL schedule next week. So I won't be doing too many more BBM 5s until the schedule, but have to give the people some of this. He didn't get high draft capital, so the NFL said he was not a good prospect. I don't know. I think you need to adjust that from an era lens where I think it's safe to say almost all running backs in the real NFL draft go at least a full round later than what they would have gone a decade ago. Right? Like Breece Hall was a second round pick. He's like for sure a first round pick a decade ago. We got a counterpoint to that. Thanks all for being here. I am at 3740 subscribers. Thanks to all of you. Please click the like and subscribe button. Help me get to my 5K goal. And if you want to get my best ball ranks and my articles to help you win, like Grant won $6,000 last night with some game theory advice from me, make sure to subscribe to beatbestball.com. Okay. So this is not our like favorite range in drafts. I think I'm going to just quote unquote reach on some running backs here. I mean, I could take Love, but like, why? So we're taking Chase Brown, who, I don't know, the market's just kind of decided Zach Moss is the RB1 there, and I guess it makes a little sense on a half-point PPR site, but... And then I think, like, in pure ceiling senses, Gus Edwards probably has higher touchdowns in his best seasons, but Singletary is a little safer and, like, can have a similarly good season, so I think we'll take Singletary this time. Right, so Moscow's I pick 88. Chase Brown I pick 108. I mean, Chase Brown is an athletic stud. Zach Moss flunked out of Buffalo and then turned it on with the Colts, and now he's with the Bengals. With Marvin Harrison going so high, he has to hit last year Puka numbers to really pay off the cost. Like if he was last year's Flowers, it is a letdown. Yeah, he needs to do, I mean, doesn't have to be quite Puka Nacua, which had the best rookie season ever. But around 1,000 yards, around 10 touchdowns is like the hope of the pick. Is Michael Mayer a totally dead pick? He's not a great pick. He is Dawson Knox in the Raiders offense. And maybe it's a little bit different because maybe Bowers isn't going to run as many like traditional routes like Kincaid did. Like he's going to be doing more of like end around, but yeah, no, there's no way to cut it. It's not great for him. Most important, Marvin Harrison has his good scores at the end of the season. Yeah, of course that's important, but right, like that's the thesis of taking rookies is you hope their production is weighted towards week 17. But I mean, I see really no reason why you can't hit the ground running. This has to have been an auto pick, or maybe he wanted this Kyler Murray, James Conner stack. Don't know. Or maybe he didn't want me to have Kyler. That happens too. So we're hanging with our 4 here, and then we're building out our other positions. Almost certainly going 2 QB, almost certainly stopping at 2 tight end. You heard it here. The puppy just dropped. I'm going to be working on my site after this, so I probably will not do a draft for you guys right now. But let's see the structure. The puppy is a $5 $50K to first. $310 final. Min cash in the final is $500. So if you do 100 entries, you will get your money back if you reach the final. Cool. We'll just grab my top 2 ranked players here. I definitely am taking way more Ford than I am Nick Chubb. I mean, if Nick Chubb returns to full health, it's possible Ford is not relevant down the stretch, right? If Chubb is getting like all those snaps, but I don't know. The Browns have won two running backs anyways, and I like taking stabs at this running back room. So we got Stroud, White, Chase Brown, Singletary, Ford. You know, a running back who should be the one there, should have around a 200-point season. Singletary, another running back who should be the one. We just don't like the offense. And, you know, maybe a good season's 140 points, 150 points. Ford, I think, should be the one to start the year and possibly holds on to the job. Chase Brown is possibly the 1, possibly the 2, possibly the 1A, possibly the 1B. I think at least he'll be an explosive pass catcher in an offense we like. And then we added Brandon Cooks, who, if it's not Ferguson being the second target there, it should be Cooks. And we know that Cooks is the type of guy who can give you 30 points in a given week. Mayer equal Knox on a much worse offense. Yeah, I mean, I didn't say that part. I thought that part went without saying, but yeah. I still draft some Mayer when I punt tight end. Do you like Fields for dart throw upside on 3 QB teams? You can check my rankings for that. So I would say this is like a balanced-ish start, even though we went double elite tight end, in theory, elite quarterback, 4 wide receivers, right? We still got a running back room we feel good about. We didn't go quite as extreme where we're like starting with these guys, which I've also done. Chase or Jefferson? Easily Chase for me. I'm going to have a write-up on every team, by the way, where it's like it'll show you the depth chart. It'll show you players that are worth taking a stab on. It's going to take a while. I'm literally going to write this from scratch. And I'll write, several paragraphs on how I feel about the team, how I see the season going. At beatbestball.com. You don't need to state your full fading Royce Freeman. You and everyone else. Royce Freeman's not getting drafted, man. Benson not really getting steamed up. Happy to get some exposure to him at the cheap prices. I like him. It's also possible he's not a huge, pass catcher. It's also kind of funny how I used to get huge pushback on rookie tight ends last year, which was the dumbest narrative ever. Oh, can't produce rookie tight ends. And now the market's like, yeah, whatever. We saw it once. Let's do it. So no one really stacks for us. I think we'll grab Algier. Let's check it on the ADP too. Yeah, I don't like that. And we're grabbing Gibson, and I think I'm just going to be done at running back. Algier and Gibson, 2 RB2s. Right? Where, it's possible both are not purely RB2s as well. In the sense that, we saw Algier be like a 1B, 2A, whatever you want to call it. And then Gibson in the new offense should have a role. Hunter Henry is the pick. Yeah, maybe if you like to wear 3 condoms, you could triple tight end here, but I am not with only 4 picks left. Henry's a fine player. I like him, but I'm going to ride with 2 tight ends. I like the extra bullets at the other positions. Would have liked to get Ray Davis. J.K. Dobbins remains a hopium pick to me. Kendre Miller is a similar guy to Algier and Gibson. I mean, weird rookie year for him. He was like not good at all, but injured. Kamani Vidal is getting uber steamed as a 6th round running back. I think Stafford was in play too. So maybe I'll be going 3 QB, 7 wide out, or 2 QB, 8 wide out. So it would have been nice if we got that Kyler pick, but then we don't get one of the tight ends we like. So we got our stud running back, and then 5, decent darts. Devin saying, I heard if you're trying to win a tournament with a tight end at flex, you have the wrong mentality. That's not the mentality at all to take 2 elite tight ends. Like, I'm not taking Bowers and Ferguson being like, wow, I really hope Bowers hits my flex, right? It's obviously to have a good tight end score every single week. And it's a totally different equation when you're spending a 7th and 8th round pick on tight ends versus when tight ends went at the 4th round plus. So it's why best hard and why digesting research can burn you. All right, let's go Douglas and Drake May. So we get the third over. Like, I'm a always draft rookie. Like, I had a ton of Stroud last year because he was like one of the latest drafted QBs. And I'm not someone who's like, I know better than the NFL. This guy went number 2 overall. I'm gonna fade him because of whatever. I'm like, hey, this dude went 3rd overall. I like what the Patriots did in the draft. Yeah, I think I'd prefer to stack him with a Polk or Baker. I think they're a little bit more upside, but I think Douglas should be the slot there. So getting Drake makes me more comfortable to stop at 2 tight end. I also like that I have him stacked with Gibson, who is a pass catcher in theory, and Douglas, a guy I like a lot in the big board. Obviously not great that the Pats went super wide receiver heavy, but maybe it just makes the offense better. So we like the squad. We got Stroud and Drake May. We got Rashad White, Chase Brown, Devin Singletary, Jerome Ford, Tyler Algier, Antonio Gibson, Marvin Harrison Jr., Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Zay Flowers, Brandon Cooks, Pop Douglas, Brock Bowers, Jake Ferguson. Let's check in on the Patriots depth chart and see how they're listing the players. I mean, this is meaningless, but we still like to look at it. Oh, yeah. Drake is not guaranteed to start the year in the sense that it could be Jacoby Brissett. I think that would be dumb, but hey, it is the Patriots. I think Juju's like got to be cut. Like, he's got to get out of the NFL. Sorry, Juju. They have some O-line questions here for sure. Good morning, Angelina. I need my second cup of coffee. Yeah, elite tight end cheaper than ever. And I'm going to have articles just on tight end and quarterback just because the market is kind of bizarre on them right now. I think with the Texans, like everyone knows about the big three, but let's not forget, as I forget the guy's name. Obviously Noah Brown, but John Mechie III, I mean, the man had cancer and beat cancer. So like, I don't know. Does that take a year to return? He was like a third round pick, second round pick, something like that. So I do think like on a 20 round site, John Mechie III is worth a stab. Obviously, he'll probably require an injury, and it could be Noah Brown. But that's like you do that in 1 or 2 drafts the whole season, and you hope that he's literally never ever drafted. I mean, I would classify this as bully tight end, right? It's the cheapest way of doing it. But my wide receiver 4 is Zay Flowers. Rondale Moore, I would really only do that in certain stacks. Let's take Kendrick Bourne. Kendrick Bourne has been a really good wideout before. It's possible he doesn't even make the team. So he's a bit risky. And then we'll go A.T. Perry today. So we are going to stop at 2 QBs because we're taking some questionable wideouts in Douglas and Bourne. Like I think both of them, they could be the literally number 1 and number 2 target on New England. They could be number 3 after Hunter Henry. They could get dusted by the rookies. And then A.T. Perry, you're just kind of hoping he is the Saints' third wide receiver. Which, how much money did Cedric Wilson get? I mean, we've done the Cedric Wilson thing before. I don't think he's worth a great stab. Two-year, $5.75 million is not a lot. It's also a little bit confusing why Kendrick Bourne would sign with New England for so cheap. So anyways, our team finishes up at Stroud and Drake May. Stroud might have to carry the team in the sense that May's not guaranteed to start the year. But we're not too worried about that. White, Chase Brown, single, by the time like bye weeks roll around, you hope May is at least seen the field. White, Chase Brown, Singletary, Jerome Ford, Algier, Gibson. Not the best running back room, but you can see it where White needs to be a really solid running back. Singletary needs to be like the boring guy he is, but gives you points. This is my 18th BBM5 if you're curious. Ford, could be just the Browns starting running back. If not, he could be the starting running back to start the season. Algier, he's got injury upside. He could still have a goal line role. He could just, take the load from Bijan. Gibson, I think it's a pretty wide range on Gibson where not impossible he doesn't even make the team. Not impossible he plays all third downs. Not impossible he's still like a pure 1B next to Ramondre. Marvin Harrison Jr., you're just hoping for an elite wideout season. A reach Nico and Tank Dell for that double stack, which is going to be unique because we took Nico at the turn and Stroud we got to fall. Flowers should have plenty of spike weeks. And again, Mark Andrews' health I do not think is a lock. And then Brandon Cooks, you're just hoping for some spike weeks. 2 guys to stack with May, which both could be dust. Both could be solid bets. We'll see there. And A.T. Perry, another stab at wide receiver. So 3 definitely questionable wideouts, but we got some studs at the top to carry us if so. And then Bowers and Ferguson, 2 great tight ends, right? Like if either of these tight ends finish as like a top 5-ish tight end in fantasy, it shouldn't be that surprising. Ferguson connected to Dak. He's just going to need to get a lot of touchdowns. Bowers went so high in the draft and is regarded as the best tight end prospect after Kyle Pitts or ahead of him, depending on your choice. So we like the team there. Other contests are hitting there, so I'll just recap those for you. The Golden, fast drafts only. Hallelujah. $10, $10K to first. The Chihuahua, $4, $30K to first. 25 entry max. So it seems very similar to the puppy. And the puppy, $5, $50K to first. And if you're new to Underdog, first off, get up and running, promo code Chesley. But these smaller contests with lower buy-ins typically fill quick. Where, like if you're planning to do your puppies next month, puppy might not be there. They typically roll out the puppy 2, the puppy 3, the puppy 4. So we'll see there. Let's check in. I keep on entering big dogs, and there's like, yeah, okay. I'm not waiting for 8 people for the big dog. But if I ever get into big dog and it's like waiting for 3 people, we'll rip it. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Please make sure to like, subscribe, check out beatbestball.com. Got some free articles there. Got some free articles if you're subscribed as well. Going to be writing to make sure to get some more content on the site. And thank you all for being here. See you next time. And join my Discord, link below.